now we can start putting together the quiz. The first thing that's actually important is that the first questions need to be their name, so that you actually know whose response it is, whose answers they are. So click on this first box, and we actually want a short answer, and their first question is their name. Hopefully they'll be able to answer that. Now I want that to be required, it must be compulsory. I want them to actually answer that, so I'll press that. This is where I add another question, so I add another question, and this time again it's a short answer because I want their surname, and again it's compulsory. Okay, now to make some questions, so I'm going to add another question here, and this is where you can start to type what your question is. So I'm going to say a question about Mohammed. Now the idea of multiple choice questions is that the different options are viable possible options, but it means that students have to think carefully about the answers. So for example, the answer is Mecca, but there are obviously other cities associated with Muhammad, so I might as well put Medina as another one and think of some others which would be possibilities. If you want any ideas on how to write effective multiple choice questions, I will add links to some great articles at the end. Okay, now I need to make sure that again that this is required, it's compulsory, I want them to answer it. And if I click here, I actually want the answers to shuffle. That means that they'll automatically mix up. So for example, my answer here is Mecca, and I have put that, and that's the correct answer, but I don't want that always to be the first one that they see. So if I shuffle it, that means that when they see it, Mecca might come up as the first or second, third or fourth. Now I need to tell the form which is the correct answer. So this is the answer key. Now I can click which answers are correct. Now as it says which city, that's Mecca, and I want to allocate that 1 point. So if they get that correct, they get 1 point. Now you can obviously add how many points that you want that to be worth. So if you've got more difficult questions, they might be worth more than one. That's up to you. So you can keep adding more questions by pressing the plus. Make sure it's a multiple choice question, and then you can type in your question and the options and choose the answer key. You'll notice if I go to another one I've made, it says that you can add answer feedback. So if you click on this, you can add feedback to give students feedback on the incorrect answer. So you might want to explain why some of them were incorrect, what they actually meant. And research says that this is really good for students to be able to understand why they were incorrect answers. Likewise, you can explain the correct answer and why that was correct, maybe link that into something else to extend their knowledge. I'll show you an example on the first question. So I have already put feedback here. So I've put feedback, yes, and some information about Mecca. And I was going to add how Jerusalem was obviously important for Muhammad, but wasn't where he got rid of the idols. Same with Medina and what Saudi Arabia is. So you can actually let students know why the answers were wrong and why they were right, which research says is really important that they understand if they get it wrong, why it was wrong. There are some other features here of things that you can add, but for the moment I'm just going to keep it simple, keep this simple quiz. So you can just keep on going, adding questions, making sure that you select what the correct answer is, giving the feedback, allocating the points, and always make sure that you click that it's required. And if you want the answers to be shuffled, so it's not always the first one that's correct or etc., you can press shuffle.